How Skateboards Are Made, Part 2. Welcome back, everybody, and if you did miss anything in Part 1, you might want to get yourself caught up on that because you're probably going to get a little lost with us here on Part 2. If you do need to catch up on Part 1, there is a link in the description of this video, and it brings you directly to that video. But if you have already seen everything in Part 1, then you're all caught up, and you know that Mike left off with some final steps to be done after routing.
Got a feed here.
Yeah.
You might have a shoulder from the round over bit. That's going to be taken out after the belt.
It's some really precise work, actually.
So there is definitely some fine-tuning to be done, some sanding to be done, and we have to put that graphic on the board, which is actually a pretty dangerous process. And don't forget to keep watching until the end of this video because I am going to get a chance to interview John Bullock from Old School just a little bit, and he's also going to give you guys some info on how you can contact them in case you are interested in placing orders with them. So if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because Part 2 starts right now. Picking up right where we left off with some fine-tuning or final cuts, otherwise known as sanding. And yes, sanding is a multi-step process. Could you expect any less? The first sander Mike uses has an air-filled rubber bladder with some 60 grit paper. The 60 grit is only used to take down the edges, turning any and all rough edges into smooth, flush edges.
So I like to get in there and get these hips down.
However, the 60 grit is not used on the top or bottom open faces of the board. Once the edges are sanded to Mike's liking and expectations, he then moves to a 120 grit sander for the open faces.
What a fantastic shape for a cruiser. You could still kickflip that if you wanted to. You could tray flip that if you want. You could do some board slides. It's not just a cruiser.
This process is careful and tedious. After 120, Mike moves to a 220 grit paper before then finishing the board with a 400 grit sander for an extra smooth feel.
The finished product. Well, almost. So the next step is spraying, like with paint, and they want to make sure I'm safe, so I gotta wear this mask. Am I wearing this right? So you can't hear me now, but the painting's in there.
I said painting, but it's more like spray. Spraying a clear, smooth, glossy finish over the skateboard. Old School does one coat top and bottom sides of each deck, then they hit it again with the 400 grit sander to get any last minute grain smoothed out. Then they put another coat on to get that smooth, glossy finish. Besides the amount of time it takes to dry, this is actually one of the faster steps in the process.
Flip it, we don't worry about it on the other side.
I don't think they can hear us.
So we're coming up to the very last part, which is the fun part, is basically we're putting on the graphic. So we have a heat transfer of Arjun's new graphic here, which is this beautiful white board this is going to become.
That guy must be really handsome.
Nice.
We could talk about my new graphic in just a second because right now it's the grand finale, the part we've all been waiting for, putting a graphic on a skateboard. This step requires an 800-pound machine called a skateboard heat transfer. The machine heats up to 270 degrees, and the board and graphic are lined up and fed through the machine carefully to ensure that the graphic sticks on all sides of the wood. And once it's through, you can pull off the excess print. It's hot, it's heavy, it's super rare, and it's even more expensive. But once this machine does print the graphic on the board, Old School can use shrink wraps for each deck to make a more presentable appearance, and thus, a skateboard is born.
This product right here. In the shrink wrap, looking great, looking presentable.
He's in Florida, so he does. Where's his lamps? Oh, Victor's lamps and stuff like that.
So you guys do all kinds of custom shapes and concaves basically whatever people want to order, you're kind of able to fulfill that for them.
Yeah, we're actually even working on some of the surf trainers coming out. I know that's a big thing with the surf shops and stuff too. So, you know, working on a lot of different concaves. At this point, we have 3 different concaves, but probably within the next couple months, I'll have another 2 or 3 cut that I'll be using for different purposes, different size boards, and then at the same time, you know, different kinds of boards, because I do want to do some pintail long boards and stuff like that in the future too. So.
All right, so as of right now, what would you say is like your most common shape that's ordered for brands?
Common shape, I kind of customize a lot of everything. So when somebody wants a shape, I mean, our 8 1/4s are normally the same, our 8.5s are the same, but a lot of times people are getting like shaped decks, so I cut them a custom shape, or they wanted a specific tail, specific that, you know, type thing. So.
But if like a brand wanted to, you do have like the standard popsicle mold in different sizes.
Oh yeah. And we're you know, there's a couple of varieties in that too. So I mean, you know, but at the time I try to stock as many 8 1/4s in our popular shape as possible, so that way it's just when people order, we already have it and stuff like that too.
Got it. A big like selling point really for you guys is that you offer a smaller minimum order. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because, you know, with us, we're just trying to build relationships, and whether it's 1 board or 100 boards, I want to build a relationship with that person. Part of it is, you know, it is a business decision, because, you know, somebody gets 1 sample, you know, that they like, and they want the board fully done, and I do that for them, and they you know, either sell it, or they're just excited about it. They're going to order 20, 25 more, you know, or 100 more, whatever their budget is. But it's all about more of the community, the people. You know, one of the reasons I have this is because, you know, recognizing that in our area, we don't really have a skate industry like, you know, in California. Part of like what, you know, when I was out in California, you know, people showed up every day and said, "Hey, I got $15. Do you got a board I can get from you?" You know, at the
right. That's because in California, everything's there. The manufacturers, the distributors, the retail brands, the shop, everything.
Exactly.
So you being in Philadelphia on the East Coast, having this manufacturing capability, that is potentially a huge game changer for the East Coast skate culture in general. Like, I know that that's not something that, you know, I'm just saying from an outsider point of view, that's what I see. Like, after having you show me around today and seeing the products that you guys have to offer, seeing the capabilities that you guys have to offer different brands, whether they're East Coast or not, or smaller or whatever, it's, in a way, you guys are creating a channel for people on the East Coast to have their own manufacturer, their own distribution, their own brands. And that's pretty big, dude. I don't know if you've realized that yet, but that's like kind of what I see as an outsider.
Well, I mean, it's a side effect of what my goal is. My goal is to, you know, employ people in the skate industry. So they're going to be an industry if I have to create the industry. But at the same time, people love that point that they can come in and talk to me about, hey, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm looking to do. I give them feedback, they give me feedback, and we just continue the relationship to build. Like, this should have been in this area 25 years ago, you know?
Absolutely.
But, you know, I love working with the artists in the city. I love working with, you know, different people. There's some amazing artists out there, so I'm helping a lot of artists get their art out on boards, which they wanted to do. So yeah, it's a great position. I'm just trying to be community based, and at the same time, that's the side effect is, you know, having the industry around us. I think is the best thing to say.
Say I'm someone who wants to start a brand or is looking to be a buyer to you. What's the best way for me to get in contact with you?
You could just hit us up on Instagram, Facebook. You can go to, you know, www.oldschoolskateboardco.com. You can call me personally at 609-227-8142. Just have a conversation if you want to, or text me just if you're curious. That's fine. We do skateboard building lessons too, so we have them. They're normally on Saturday, and you have to look online to see what the schedule is on that. But you can
and they can find that on your website?
Yep, it's all on the website.
So if you made it to this far in the video, thank you so much for watching, and please do share this video with one of your friends or family or anyone who you think is interested to know how a skateboard is made. And for those of you that might have been wondering, yeah, this is my new cruiser board that's coming out for Old School Skateboards. And just to answer some questions right away, I did make a video a couple weeks ago that I quit my board sponsor. I still do not have a board sponsor. I'm not riding for anyone. This cruiser is more like a guest model. So John Bullock and I are really good friends, and he does sponsor me for wheels. He makes a wheel with my name on it, and he came to me and was like, hey dude, like, we're thinking about making a cruiser shape because we want to make cruisers, and do you want to do a collab? And obviously I saw no harm in it. I said yes. And the finished product of the cruiser, as you can see all behind me, is right here. I have been riding this one just a little bit because I am filming like some videos and ads for the official drop of the cruiser, and this thing is super fun to ride. I made sure that there is a nose and a tail on the board so that you can still do pop and flip tricks. You could do nollie tricks on it. The art was done by Sean Bernhardt, who is a New Jersey local, and he's done some art for some pretty big companies like Creature. So I was really excited that John was able to snag him to do the art for this board in general. Anyway, by the time you guys see this video on YouTube, it should be a lot closer to the release date for this board, which I believe is January 14th or January 15th. It's one of those 2 days. Maybe it's a day after or a day before. Be honest, John would know better than me. But the best way to know for sure is to follow myself on Instagram or follow Old School Skateboards on Instagram. And you guys will definitely be hearing about it there. So yeah, I am super stoked on this. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. See you on the next one.